Hi BookTube, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Nathan Lambert, and I wanted to do a short video. I'm hoping to make this only like 10 minutes long. I will try very hard. By the way, I'm Nathan. This is the rambling reviewer because I ramble. So hopefully I can keep the rambling to a minimum in this video. But I wanted to talk about the stories I have read recently to try to get a final video on aliens. Or actually, it's going to be a penultimate video because I still want to read, even though it's Monday, so the beginning of the AI week, I still want to read Who Goes There by John W. Campbell, and I hope to read that on Wednesday. By the way, New Rules November is a booktube event hosted or created by Becky and Scott over at the Bookish Bryants, but it's hosted by so many people. Of course, the Bookish Bryants, Steve Donoghue, Richardson Reads, Mindy's Book Journey, Bookclectic, Brandy, Paperback Junky, Shawn D. Standfast, Noah and Everyone Who Reads Must Converse, BNB, so many other people. And it is so amazing. It is, the goal of New World's November is to read short form science fiction. So, short stories, novellas, anything less than about 250 pages long. And each week is divided into four. It has a prompt. First week was aliens. Second week is AI, which we are in now. Third week is time travel, and fourth week is apocalyptic or post-apocalyptic or dystopian. And right now we are in the week for AI. I have read one story for AI, and it was really fun. It was the Good News from the Vatican by Robert Silverberg. But I'm not going to talk about that one yet. I want to talk about just all the alien stories I've read this week. So first, I read The Martian Odyssey by Stanley Weinbaum. That was a really fun story. It's about a man who becomes kind of marooned on Mars and is traveling through the Martian landscape. He finds a weird bird-like alien creature called Tweel, who seems to have different like mental states to where his where language changes for him. Language is not static like in human language where my name is Nathan. My name is not Steve Donoghue later. But that's not the case with Tweel. So there's some kind of difference in consciousness there. It's never really explained, but it's just kind of hinted at. And they travel along. They encounter all kinds of weird aliens. They find a tentacular gelatinous entity that uses desires to shape itself, and these weird creatures that are like silicon that build pyramids around them and then go through centuries growing inside the pyramid and then go through another to another pyramid and build that one up. And it's very, very creative, very imaginative. It's quite outdated, but I kind of enjoy that because for me, I actually really like reading stories that are kind of set in their period and seeing the history and seeing the throwbacks to history and to societal things and to how science was imagined at that time. And I get that a lot of people don't, that they want their stories to be kind of timeless, and I understand that. You know, you should always have kind of a lot of great stories have kind of a kernel of timelessness, like a human emotion or whatever. But I really like when I read a story and like, oh, that reminds me of something that was going on at that time, the civil rights movement or whatever. uh, and so the kind of scientific inaccuracies in that story make me think of that. For instance, there's a very famous idea in the story that Mars has water canals, which of course it does not. uh, and it was just a very fun story. After that, I read a few random science fiction stories that don't correlate to anything, but I was just trying to get them read from my volume of science fiction. Uh, uh, Short stories, which I got right here. I actually have to move because my phone is almost dead. So I'm going to take a trip over here to my bed. So I can put my phone on. Hopefully I don't need any props. Okay. Yeah, if I wasn't lazy, I might restart the video, but I'm lazy, so I'm not gonna do that. So, all right. The second story that I read for Aliens was I'm blinking. Oh, The Saucer of Loneliness by Theodore Sturgeon. Now, this was a story which I really enjoyed. I had previously read Microcosmic God. That was actually one of the two stories that I read that didn't correlate to any of the real prompts, but it was really enjoyable. Uh, but I really loved The Saucer of Loneliness. It's a lot more emotional and pathos driven than a lot of science fiction stories are. I think both science fiction stories are either very logos heavy or ethos heavy, uh, kind of functioning within the ideas, whether it's kind of logical idea like technology or whatever, or a more ethical idea, maybe within a societal way. But this was a much more emotional story. Uh, and the basic premise is that a man finds a woman who came into contact with a small flying saucer and then tries to kill herself. And I don't want to give away much more than that. It's a very short story, but I really enjoyed the ending. And it was very, very somber and very bittersweet. Very beautiful. After that, I read two stories in one night. I read Bloodchild and Bloodchild by Octavia E. Butler, and The Story of Your Life by Ted Chiang. I did a really long video on Ted Chiang, The Story of Your Life, so I will not talk about it here, except to say that it was really good. Go read it. Bloodchild was also very, very good. I think aside from the story of your life, it was probably my favorite of the bunch. Bloodchild kind of looks at a cross-species society where there are these entities called the Talik, who are like I kind of imagine them as like massive like centipedes uh with tons of different arms and segmented bodies, and each segment has like 6 arms, and there are these and humans, or who you believe to be humans, are called Terrans. And the centipedes are parasitic. The Telic are parasitic. They can only survive and can only grow by being implanted within human bodies. Uh, and you would immediately think that that's going to be a horror story. The Telic are horrific monsters. They are evil to the core. Uh, and the story is about them trying to fight off the monsters, the Terrans trying to fight off the monsters. But this isn't Alien. This isn't Xenomorphs. Instead, it makes a very empathetic story where you are placed into a future where this is normal. Now, this isn't entirely a good thing because humans are basically second-class citizens, but the Talik don't come across as evil, and the main Talik you see is one who is specifically trying to bring rights to humans, but who still has a relationship with a young boy with the ultimate goal being impregnation, basically. And it's one of those stories where you just kind of have to read it to get how it's not two-dimensional. That's what I really liked about this one. Is that it would be so easy to make the story just a monster story, like another story on this list, which I'm going to talk about in just a moment. But instead, it takes a very different approach, where the aliens, or at least the one main alien, is made human, given something more than just horror. There is love between the humans and the aliens, even while there is horror and agony and fear also. So it was very, very good. And when I think of it, Octavia E. Butler was a black woman, and I believe she was writing during the civil rights era. I wonder if perhaps her experience may have impacted how this story was written. After those two, I read last night. I read two more stories, which I think kind of parallel each other quite a bit. Those were The Star Stealers by Edmund Hamilton and The Conquest of Gola by Leslie E. Stone. And of the two, I preferred Leslie E. Stone's story. It's about humans come to a planet called Gola, which is Venus. This is written similar to how A Martian Odyssey is very inaccurate. Conquest of Gola is also very inaccurate. It's written prior to us really having a good understanding of what Venus is like, instead of us knowing now that it is a desolate wasteland with pressures that will crush you in an instant. The story is written with the idea that Venus, underneath all the clouds, is a beautiful paradise. And there are these matriarchal aliens there called, actually I don't think it ever names them. But it's told from the point of view of the aliens. And so when the humans come, they're led by the men and pretty aggressive, and then the aliens fight back and end up winning using their heightened intelligence and psychic potential. And the reason I think that's kind of mirrored in the other story is because in the other story, it's a lot more straightforward. You've got a federation of human-driven worlds, but with other aliens too, but it focuses on the aliens. And a ominous, completely evil alien species comes in using uh, a magnetically driven star, kind of dead, dark star, basically just a core, uh, to try to come in because their world is gone, to steal the sun, to use that to light their own star. Uh, and so by comparison, that one is a lot more stereotypical, a lot more, you know, here's the good guy, here's the bad guys. The bad aliens are like orcs or demons, or they're completely evil. They have no redeeming qualities. They vivisect a man just because. um, they could probably easily survive by coming to the galaxy and saying, "Hey, we need help," because the Federation is shown to be good and peaceful, but they don't because they're aggressive and evil. Uh, and of course that's fun, but it doesn't have the same nuance that the other one does. And the other real kicker is that there is a female character within the story, who actually seems to be quite a badass. But then at the very end, when it's revealed that all the characters uh, kind of get a lot of money, she opens a beauty parlor because, of course, she opened a beauty parlor. So again, a very different portrayal of how women are viewed in these two stories. Uh, Again, not to say that either one is bad. They're both good. The Star Steel is actually incredibly entertaining. It's very action packed, very very lively. The depiction of the alien world and the aliens themselves are very cool, very Lovecraftian, which I really enjoyed. I got very like Rayless vibes, the underwater city that Cthulhu dwells in from the city on the dark sun. Uh, but I thought that was just interesting because I read them back to back and just seen the two different uh, views of humanity, of women, and of aliens. Um, and today, again, even though it's Monday, I read two more stories. I read, after having read the Robert Silverberg, the Robert Silverberg story, I read another Robert Silverberg story that was The Passengers, which was another really fun one that looks at it's never actually stated to be aliens, but I'm going to assume it was aliens. Another parasitic race that comes into the mind of people and then makes them act weird. It doesn't actually make them violent, it seems, most of the time. Or at least it's not evil. It's more, when they do act violent, it's more just for fun. But it's just lucky to make you eat feces, apparently, or have sex, or do drugs. So uh, it's never explained, but it was an enjoyable story. I did like that one quite a bit, but I don't really have too much thoughts on it. And then I also read Beyond Lies the Wub by Philip K. Dick. This is my first Philip K. Dick story. Obviously a titan of science fiction like Isaac Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and Ray Bradbury. Uh, and usually I when I think of him, I think of him more as on like the uh, cyberpunk type sci-fi technology. And this one was a lot different. This one was an alien story, but it's very very weird. Um, it's about about a crew who come onto a planet, and one of the shipmates finds it's a pig. It's called a wub, and he he purchases it, takes it back to the ship, and they find out that the pig is telepathic, capable of talking, intelligent, well spoken, sophisticated. It talks about myths, uh, and there is a lot of back and forth between it and the captain, and eventually the captain, uh, spoiler alert, if you don't want me to spoil, I will, maybe mute it, and I'll kind of do like that when I'm done. But anyways, he eats it. He has it shot. He shoots it, much to the dismay of everyone else on board the ship. Then he eats it. And it's kind of horrifying. But then at the end, he takes on the kind of the voice and the behaviors and the personality of the wub. A very strange story. Very I don't, even more than the passengers, I don't have really any concrete thoughts on it just because of how strange it is, but I did really like it. But those are all the stories I read, and I wanted to have this at 10 minutes, but I guess 20 will have to do, so. Oh. I actually overtalked, but I apologize. So I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hope you're still enjoying, Aliens, for New World's November, so I will leave you all now so we can get back to our AI reading. And yeah, have a great rest of your week.